You got two roads to go here. You can either go the right road or the wrong. And Eric, that was the defining moment of my life where I came out, went through rehabilitation program, never to the point where I was needed rehab, right? Social drinker, social user, but it was enough to change brain pathways, which at the time we didn't know about. It was at the age of 22, I had a divine encounter. I mean, I met God in a place of such lowness.
This is Maestro Minute, the show that discusses all things real estate, sharing interviews with the most successful people in the industry. Hear from their perspective and what they are doing to achieve success. Get exclusive tips on how you can also succeed in real estate. Maestro Minute is brought to you by Maestro Development. Here's your host, Nareg Muradian.
Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Maestro Minute, our podcast that we go through all things real estate. Really happy that you guys have joined this episode. Make sure to like and subscribe, as we always say, so you can stay up to date on our content. We've talked about a lot of things in real estate. We've gone through development, equity, capital, construction, design, all different topics. But today we're going to dive a little bit deeper, get into another level of success, really. Somebody I have worked with in depth about developing Maestro and taking it to another level. So I'm really excited about our guest today, Coach Ron Kardashian. Thanks for coming.
Glad to be here, my man.
Awesome. So super excited. Before we get into it, let me just do a quick bio introduction.
Yeah, sure.
And then add any comments that you feel after.
Sure,
okay,
sure.
So Coach Ron Kardashian is an executive coach and cognitive specialist with a license in theological studies. You're the CEO of 3 companies, right? One of which
Four
is
now.
4. Okay. So I got 3. One is coaching consulting, a firm in Silicon Valley, advising on leadership alongside of over $1 trillion in revenue, which you've helped me. So I really appreciate that.
Yes, sir.
Your company's been awarded diplomatic honors and has been recognized as an authority in executive leadership space. You got clients such as Apple, LinkedIn, Tesla, Facebook, Intel, NASA, Fox, and we'll add Maestro to your list. And you provide invaluable insight into the successful behavioral traits, which we'll get into today, and give rise to some of the most successful minds of today. So that's great. In addition to that, you advise leaders in over 150 different industries, leadership teams, CEOs, heads of state, which is really interesting, in areas of making the concrete decisions forever changing the trajectory and the outcomes of their lives and their businesses. In addition to your executive mentorship role, you published 3 books. We got one here, 30-Second Solution. We'll talk a little bit about this today.
Yeah.
Your work is endorsed by New York Times. You're a best-selling psychologist.
Endorsed by a best-selling psychologist who is a New York Times bestseller.
Okay.
Got it.
So Daniel Amen.
Dr. Amen, that's right.
Dr. Amen has endorsed your book. He's a best-selling. Okay. Please welcome Coach Ron Kardashian.
My man. Thank you. Good intro. Good intro.
Whoever wrote that for you did a great job.
Thank you.
So anything I missed?
Dr. Amen, I think he's just a treasure of gold in my life. Of course, quite arguably, probably one of the most famous psychologists in the U.S. right now. He does all the celebrities. He's got a practice. Give him a plug in Newport Beach. I think they got one in L.A. and, of course, up north in the Bay Area by me. And, you know, when I met him to write this book, I said, Doc, if you tell me that the brain cannot change, I'm not going to write this. I said, but I've experienced something in my own life that has been life transforming, and I really want to make this a thesis for potentially a PhD in the future or just to help somebody. And he said, most definitely. He said, this was before the law of neuroplasticity really evolved, right? The neuro is nerve and then plasticity is pliable. So like we give ourselves these excuses that we can't change.
Yeah.
We've got these old school behaviors, anger, rage, whatever it is. And we blame it like I used to do on my Italian heritage, right? I used to tell my wife, I'm Italian. This is how we are. We're loud people. And she's like, not in this house, you know? So I had to change some of those behaviors. So when I told him, I said, I've experienced some of these changes, got a lot of work to do, but He said, most definitely, Ron. He said, the only problem is I don't do endorsements. I'm all, well, he goes, but since we're here having lunch, tell me about the book. Nareg, he not only did the endorsement, he did the entire forward. And here's what he said. If you put into practice Ron Kardashian's tools, they will help you develop impulse control, focus, and forethought, which are the primary functions of the executive brain. We're always looking for focus, we're always looking for forethought, and we're always looking to not make impulsive decisions, right? In business, we have to be very calculated. And I think it's probably been one of the greatest honors of my life that he said, my program completes that.
Yeah, and I have a copy of this book, and it's a really easy read, actually.
Very easy.
Very easy read.
Yeah.
But before we get too much further, tell me and tell the viewers here, kind of your path to success, your rise from humble beginnings to where you are today. Give us kind of a snapshot of how that happened.
Gosh, where do we begin? Former addict, incarcerated, bad boy, grew up in the club scene. I was always very much, of course, our family is in the entertainment space, so that kind of DNA kind of runs through. What I didn't know at the time was I was pursuing a career, not a calling. And very early on, this was all before the age of 21, you know, I had my fill and found myself subject to 3 felony charges, conspiracy, grand theft, and perjury, or something like that.
This is in your 20s?
This is in my, right at 18 years old. I was tried as an adult, and as a result of that, I remember I came from a beautiful middle-class upper suburbia family, nowhere near the level of the Kardashians that we see on TV, but, you know, my father had very humble beginnings, came from a family of entrepreneurs. Success was always in the DNA, which, to the grace of God, I'm thankful for. But this young man had taken the wrong path because of associations. And of course, I'm a champion now with, you know, the right relationships will make or break you, whether personal or in business, right?
Right.
So I had chosen wrong. And as a result of that, I had to do time in a county jail, which as a little boy, which I considered I was 19 years old, that scared the hell out of me and really kind of jerk slapped me into a place saying, you got 2 roads to go here. You can either go the right road or the wrong. And Nareg, that was the defining moment of my life where I came out, went through rehabilitation program, never to the point where I was needed rehab, right? Social drinker, social user, but it was enough to change brain pathways, which at the time we didn't know about. It was at the age of 22, I had a divine encounter. I mean, I met God in a place of such lowness. Oftentimes that's where people do meet him, right? You have nowhere to go but up if you're at rock bottom,
right,
which is good news for somebody. Like you're at a low place in your life, that's actually a good place to be because there's nowhere to go but up now. And I humbled myself, which is probably one of my main coaching principles now, called the law of humility. Humility precedes honor. Pride comes before a fall. Well, I was filled with pride.
Thanks for tuning in to the Maestro Minute podcast. Make sure to rate this podcast if you found it helpful, share it with a friend that could use it, and follow us on all major podcast platforms. The Maestro Minute, powered by Maestro Development.